Welcome to part 2 of my long weekend mini album process video. This is going to be a long one. This video is a little bit more than an hour long. If you only want to see the final product and not watch the whole process, please check out my share video. I will have a separate share video for those of you who don't want to invest a full hour of watching me do this. And there's also a video that shows how I made the pages as well. That would be right before this one on my channel. So here I am just in the last video I did talk about how I had categorized my photos so that I kept them basically in some type of order. And so here I'm just going through the pages and I'm putting the photos into each of the pages. At this point my pages are made and the cardstock is attached to the acrylic pages and also to the acetate pages. Some of them are homemade pages that I made, and some of them are pages of a Doodle Bug Designs album that I purchased at Crop and Create. So all of my photos, I described in my last video how I put them all through Hipstamatic so that they had the same filter on them, and talked about how I printed them up. And I also showed how I made all these pages. And so right now I have all of my photos in the pages, on the pages where they're going to belong. And I used the categories that I had organized my photos into, and there was one page there that two of the pages kind of stuck together, and so I didn't have my photos as spread out as they could have been, which was really good. I thought I had calculated that I could have about 20 pictures in this, and then I ended up with only 18, and I was kind of like, oh, I must have miscalculated. But it turned out that I had 2 pages stuck together, and so I was able to fit everything in that I wanted to, so that was good. So now I have these embellishments that I picked out, and I am trying to use up some of the Chasing Dreams die cut sets that I got. I ended up with 2 sets of that same product, and so I have 2 packages of Chasing Dreams die cuts from Maggie Holmes. These letter stickers that I'm using, the typewriter, the ones that look like a typewriter font, they have a bit of glitter on them and they're foam. Those are by Heidi Swap. They don't really have a name. And then the other ones are called Maple. They're matte puffy letter stickers and they're thickers. They're one of my favorites. I love these letter stickers because they're so unique and interesting, and they're so tall and skinny that you can fit a fairly long word into a smaller space. So I'm just going to layer 2 die cuts together so that they can be the little card that holds my title onto my title page. And now I'm just scooching them over a little bit to make them fit and look a little bit less wonky. I don't mind them looking a little bit wonky, but not quite that much. And the lovely thing about foam and rubber letter stickers is that you have a little bit of leeway. You can bend them a little bit as you adhere them onto the page, and then you can always peel them up and move the little corners and edges up and around a little bit if you need to line things up. Now what I'm about to use here is I'm actually wetting a piece of paper with a misting tool, like just with a water mister, and then I'm using a dynamic embossing folder from Stampin' Up. This one has hexagons on it, and this creates a much deeper embossed texture on the paper. As you can see, it has lots and lots of detail and very deep texture. And I'm using this because I felt like this title page was a little busy. Like it goes from that triangular background paper to the strips of paper in front of it, and then you've got this title on these 2 pieces of die cuts, and I just kind of felt like I needed some place for the eye to rest. And so I'm cutting out this honeycomb type of a pattern, and I want it to have a pretty random edge on it. I don't want it to have any symmetry or predictability. I'm just cutting out the little hexagons in as random a way as I can. And I will go back and take a chunk out of that section that I left quite intact at the bottom there. I just wanted to kind of There you go. And now I think I'm going to go back, and once I sized it up, I needed it to be a certain size. Now I'm holding the die cuts on it so that I can have a sense of where I want the white textured paper to lie relative to the title. There we go. And now I'll do the same along the bottom edge and just chunk it up a little bit and make it look kind of random. There we go. And that just, I like that. I actually prefer the back side of that texture. So that is the debossed pattern. And so I just flipped it around, and now I'm going to add the dies or the die cuts to that textured paper. And I'm using some Stampin' Dimensionals just to pop that die cut piece out a little bit. It gives a little bit of space between the die cuts and that textured background. And I just really like how that looks. Now, I felt like I needed even more interest here, so I took some white and gold twine that I had pulled out for another project and never did use, and then I also took some Coats Extra Strong upholstery thread, and I am just making a messy bundle of thread and twine, and I am just sticking it onto the background, like onto the back side of those two die cuts that are glued together. And then I just used a little bit of Tombow Mono Multi adhesive, because once all of that thread was on the glue on the back of my die cut, the die cut wasn't sticky anymore to stick to the honeycomb pattern. And so I added some extra glue in there, and then I also just glued the honeycomb pattern itself onto my front page. And that is pretty much done. I am going to go back at some point and add a little something to the front page, but for now it's done. Now, right now you'll notice that all of these pages are very soft and subtle, and I'm using these really dramatic black and white photos that were run through the Hipstamatic app, and they have a filter called Rockstar, and they're all quite high contrast and dramatic looking snapshots. And so in order to balance off and bring a little bit more high contrast into these pages that are otherwise quite soft and subtle in terms of color tone, and you know, the sewing on it is in white and all that sort of thing, I am going to put a little bit of these black and white rub-ons onto each and every page, just to tie in with the black and white photos and bump up the contrast a little bit on these pages. And I'm using these rub-ons. They're by Tim Holtz, and I have a whole bunch of packages of them that I use more for like a mixed media design element than as a specific themed embellishment. So for example, that one says observations and then an alphabet, and I'm just using it as a design element. It doesn't really have anything to do with the story that I'm telling here. It's just I want the black and white letters. I want the typography more than anything. And so I'm not really paying attention to what the rub-ons say or how they look. And in fact, as I move along in my process, you'll notice that there are times when I'm cutting words in the middle of them and they might not even be legible, or I'll cut, like instead of cutting around a word, I'll just cut right through it. And you'll see that as I go along. Now, these rub-ons by Tim Holtz, they're a little bit finicky. They're better than some rub-ons. So rub-ons are a little bit fickle in terms of sometimes they work really well and sometimes they don't. This particular, I find that these Tim Holtz ones are very, very good quality, and they're typically very reliable. But sometimes you have to work really hard to get them off of the transfer sheet and sticking onto your project. And as I go along, I figure out a tip for that. So stay tuned and I'll let you know when I discover that. Now I'm just writing on this page. It says, Sophie signs up for jobs for Unicorn Theater Canteen and selling roses, plus setup and cleanup. She volunteered for a whole bunch of different jobs this time. Her sister is an actor in our community theater, and the community theater is entirely, like, it's a nonprofit, and it runs entirely on volunteer manpower, person power, and so it really relies heavily on the families of the actors to volunteer and make things and contribute. So the theater is called Unicorn Theater, and so I'm just spelling that out with these beautiful rubber letter stickers by Studio Calico. These are one of my very favorite items in the entire world. I love these letter stickers, and I use them quite freely in this project. So now these are Pebbles tile letter stickers that are in my stash from ages ago, and I don't have enough room to spell out theater, so I'm just going to put out Thea and then a little dash and ter. And right now this page is looking a little bit empty, so I'm going to embellish it a little bit more. And as I do my mini albums, I kind of do them in phases. So in the first video, you saw my first 2 phases, which is pick out photos and then make the pages. And now in this, you'll see a couple of phases. My first phase is go through and get most of the content onto the pages. That will be what the majority of this video is. But then at the very end, I go back and I add things with a really specific intent. So if you get bored throughout this video, because it is a very long one, I would encourage you to kind of skim to the end, because the last part of this video is going to talk a little bit more about a different part of this process. So the majority of this video will be all of this, like just me putting on the majority of the content. So I'm going to be putting on titles, pictures, journaling, and embellishments. But then at the end, I don't know, I haven't narrated it yet, so obviously I don't know at what point, but maybe I'll add a little notation at some point to tell you where you can skip to if you don't want to watch the whole thing. So here I am on the second page, and for this page, it is just a picture of a snake on the street, which is kind of a funny picture, but we really like snakes in our family. And so we encountered this snake. He was sunning himself on the street. We were gone for a walk, and I just wanted to document not only did we go for a walk, but also we found this snake on the street. And so because the snake is such a tiny little part of this image, I'm going to put some embellishments on the image just to cover up some of the space and direct your attention to the snake itself. I'm layering it with a tag from the Chasing Dreams collection, and that little cork arrow is from Studio Calico. And now my journaling says, we found a cute garter snake sunning himself on the road. And then that's where it stops for now, but I am going to go back and add to that journaling at the end, and you will see that if you watch this video through to the end. I'm going to underline all of my journaling, and I'm using the exact same pen for all of my journaling as well. It is a Sharpie pen. And I like to do my journaling in the same color pen on a mini album just to give some consistency and uniformity to the project. And so again, it's pulling mostly die cuts from the Chasing Dreams collection. I want to use a lot of these on this project, and I'm really only going to go into my stash of other die cut sets, which if you watched the other video, you saw some of the other sets I took out. I will only go into that when I need to. So if I can't find what I need in the Chasing Dreams collection, then I'll go into some of those other sets that I pulled apart. And so again, I have this set of rub-ons that I'm just going to keep on cutting at and applying to each page as I go. And I want them to look like they're layered, so I'm kind of tucking them underneath of things and rubbing around. It's a little awkward when you do it that way. I guess if I had planned better, I might have put all the rub-ons on in one phase, but I find that I get bored with tasks if I make it too much of an assembly line. Like I already did a bit of an assembly line with making my pages and then adding all the sewing and then gluing them all together. So I kind of just want to go page by page and enjoy the actual scrapbooking process, which I enjoy a lot more if I go page by page instead of kind of going through the whole book and putting on all the rub-ons and then going through the whole book and putting all the photos. And that's just not as enjoyable for me. But if you like it that way, obviously, then you should do it that way. I think that we all just need to do whatever we need to do to enjoy our scrapbooking. It's more important that you enjoy your hobby than, you know, how it turns out looking in the end. Yeah, so there's a stubborn little A that just wouldn't get on the page. Yeah, so I guess I'm adding some sewing. I completely forgot that I did this. But what am I doing here? Oh yes, I am I guess I am sewing that die cut onto the onto the page, onto the photo. And all of these die cuts so far are all from the Maggie Holmes. It looks like I cut out a little bit and you didn't see me add that camera, but that's okay. I must have just forgotten to hit record. Trust me, this video is long enough. It's okay if you miss a few little details every here and there. And so now I need to figure out where I'm going to put the rub-ons on this page. And I really like this little stacked set of words that are all kind of match each other. So here's where I realized that these particular rub-ons will work a lot better if you kind of curl the paper, the transfer paper, as you lift it up. So I'm realizing here that you have to actually bend the paper, and that is more important than how much pressure or how thorough you are with rubbing with the popsicle stick. And so from this point forward, I'm actually going to use my thumbnail because I just realized that it's more about the angle at which you hold the transfer paper and pull it back than it is about how firmly you press on the rub-on itself. So with those words applied to the side, and again, those are just embellishments. I'm not kind of thinking about the content of those rub-on words. I'm just writing the word snacks, and I used some really cute rubber letter stickers from Freckled Fawn. And my journaling says, at the superstore, we had cans of pop after shopping. I underlined that journaling, and again, I'm just using the same pen. There were a few more words I wanted to say. So it says, the lineups were so long, but Sophie found a short one. Yeah, Sophie totally found us. This like the lineups were way out of the store. It probably would have been an hour wait. And Sophie pointed out that we had only bought clothing, and because the superstore is a grocery store, but it also has clothing. And there is a separate checkout just in the clothing section. So she was like, Mom, we don't even have any groceries. Let's just go buy this at the clothing section. And so we ended up just walking up and paying for our stuff and walking right out, which was pretty awesome. So here we are on to the next page. And I grabbed a doily from Stampin' Up! And this one is a little bit challenging just because I'm trying to scrapbook onto this little tiny die cut piece. I don't want too much of my photo to poke out onto the other side, but the way that I'm doing it is I'm making my two photos be in the same spot, even though they're different sizes, and so you can see the white on the back of the longer one, like this one that you can see right now, this rectangular one. You can see it on the flip side, but I've just layered the other photos so that it covers a lot of what shows on the other side. More die cuts from the Chasing Dreams collection. I really like this cute little yellow one. I just wanted to layer it properly with the doily so that you could see what it says. And that I didn't want yellow on yellow, so as much as I like that tag, I didn't want to use that tag there. But this tag with the butterflies is really cute, and it's a different color, so that was good. And I don't mind that I'm covering up most of the shapes. You can still tell that it's a butterfly. It looks cute, kind of peeking out like that. And now the rub-ons for this page are going to go right here. And I like them to be poking out, or peeking out, I guess. And see how easy that comes off once you get the hang of how you have to just flick the paper up at an angle. Oh, it comes up so much easier. And not every set of rub-ons are like that, but these ones are certainly like that, so that's good to know. Now I just felt like it needed a little bit more of the black and white, so I'll put a little tiny bit of words right down here. There we go. Oh, I love that page. It's so cute. And so this was a board game that we were playing one of the nights. This mini album is really, it's a little bit random, and I really like random albums. These letter stickers that I'm using right now are sassafras. They're old sassafras letter stickers. I've got a whole bunch of them. They're all the same font, but different colors and patterns. And this is a board game that we played, I think, on the Friday night of the long weekend. So here in Canada, well, not everybody, but some people get, like, everybody gets Friday off, and then some people also get Monday. So we had a 4-day weekend in our family. We had a 4-day weekend, although Scott worked Saturday and he also worked Monday. So, well, I had a 4-day weekend and the kids had a 4-day weekend. So anyhow, we were playing on the Friday night, we were playing a board game called Rogues to Riches. And this is a game that my sister-in-law's friend actually developed and invented. And then they had a, what is that called? Like a crowdfunding thing. I forget what it's called, but a crowdfunding thing where they got this game made, and now you can buy it in stores and stuff, and it's actually like a legit board game that you can buy places. So we got it for Christmas. Scott's sister gave it to us for Christmas, and it's a really fun, creative game where you have to kind of, like, there's no set right or wrong answer. You kind of have to convince the other players that you're, like, come up with a creative solution to a problem, and then convince the other players to vote for yours. And then there's a bit of a luck element, and you roll the dice and that sort of thing. So it's a really nice, fun game. And so because it's a more creative game than some of the other ones that we use, that will come into play when I go to embellish this. So the journaling just says family game night. I underlined it. I outlined those letter stickers just because I wanted to. I'm not going to outline every single letter sticker on this project, but that one I did. I'm going to go back and add some embellishments to this. I'm just kind of trying to get the main story documented and the main embellishments down. And then in my final phase of making this mini album, that's when I will go through and add the finishing touches. And that is really rewarding and fun time in the development of a mini album. It's probably my very favorite stage. Although I really like this stage too. So here I'm trying to come up with a title. I want to spell out slime, but that yellow and white striped title by Freckled Fawn was just not high enough contrast for me. So I decided to go with this really shiny black puffy letter sticker. These are thickers, and they're by Dear Lizzie, and they're called Good Vibes. I don't think I've used them before, but I really like them. They came in a kit. And so I put the word sweet there, and I really don't like it there. I typically don't like to have text going in 2 different directions on my project, especially not like big text like that. Like, it would be different if I had little tiny type or some journaling or something going in the same direction as sweet. But I don't really like those 2 that are almost the same size going in 2 different directions. So I'm going to change that at some point. Meanwhile, I'm over here layering some things together on this other page. And I'm trying to not think too carefully about this because these details end up being such a small part of the overall look of the album that I'm trying to not overthink it because it ends up taking up too much time. I don't enjoy the process nearly as much when I overthink things, and it doesn't really look all that better if I think it out or if I just slap stuff on in any old way. So I'm taking the word original here and adding that to the die cut piece before I tuck the die cut piece in behind my layers. There we go. And now this is a photo of my records that came in the mail. And so I want to write my records arrived. And so I'm going to put records in this same sassafras font that I've already used, but just a different color. And then I'm spelling out my and records above and below it. And then I'm just fattening up all the letters and giving them a little bit of a stylized look. And the way that I do that is I take the little like, I guess the little tips of any of the letters, and I just add a little flair to it, and then I just fill it in. And I almost make it look like all of the bottoms of the letters have like little bell-bottom pant legs on them. That's a funny way to describe it, but that's what I do. That's what I'm thinking in my mind as I do it. I'm thinking, put a little bell bottom on the bottoms of those M's and on the Y, and a little flare sleeve on the top of the Y. So I replaced the word sweet with that cute little puffy house sticker from the Cute Girl collection from Crepe Paper. And then I think that those other two puffy stickers are from Pink Paisley. I could be wrong, but I think they're from Pink Paisley. And using your stash, because I'm using my stash in such a random way, I'm not always going to know exactly what products I'm using. So I'm sorry about that. This cute puffy sticker is from Cute Girl as well, from Crepe Paper. I usually know what I'm using because I have this freakish good memory for that. I don't know why. I don't have a good memory for anything else, literally nothing else. But scrapbooking products I have a good memory for some reason. So now on this page I am going to use that sweet sticker, and the sweet is also from the Cute Girl collection from Crepe Paper, and more of these yummy delicious rubber letter stickers from Studio Calico. Oh my goodness, I love those white letter stickers. I totally need another 20 sets of those. You know what? Letter stickers are definitely my biggest downfall in scrapbooking. I could buy every letter sticker on the face of the earth and be very happy. Okay. Although Chloe recently was spayed, it is, of course, Lila who is so desperate for attention and snuggles. I wanted to include that Chloe had recently been spayed because that was kind of part of our weekend, was just kind of making sure that she took it easy and that the other cats weren't picking on her. And you know, we were kind of feeling a little bit like making sure that she was okay before we left her for an overnight trip. She was fine. She was spayed like much earlier in the week, but actually I think it was the week before. Yeah, it was a full week ago that she was spayed. So she was much better by the time we actually left her alone overnight in the house. But still, you know, we spoil our kitties and we like them to be treated well. And she still has like her stitches are still visible and stuff. So I'm just doing some outlining here, which is a little bit difficult on such tiny little edges of this outline of this outside paper, but I think it makes a difference. I'm not outlining every single page, just this one. Maybe the next one too, I can't remember. Nope, not the next one. So what am I doing here? Right, so I want to add some rub-ons here. I haven't added rub-ons on every single page, but I'm, you know, trying to add rub-ons to almost every page. And then when I'm done this part, this kind of like majority of the scrapbooking, and I go back for my final touches, then I'll decide if I need to add any more rub-ons anywhere else. So I'm not being too careful to make sure that I do every single bit of rub-ons that I want. Like I'm trying to put them on as much as I can as I go, but I'm also mindful of the fact that if I skip a couple pages, I'd rather keep with my flow and keep on going with the pages that I'm doing than stop and go back and make sure that I didn't forget to put rub-ons on anything, because I know that the last phase is the phase at which I'll catch any inconsistencies in terms of forgetting to put rub-ons on certain pages, or I can decide if they all need it or if I can just leave them off of some of them once the whole thing is done. So there we go. I really love how those letters look on that side of that page. Actually, that's one of my favorite things about that page. This is one of my favorite pages in the album. I love the peekaboo page. I love that you can see some of the things from the other page. Now this journaling says, this book is written by a mother and daughter who hold mother-daughter workshops about keeping a strong bond through the teens. It takes an attachment perspective, so it's different than what I do at work. Loving it. And yeah, I struggled a little bit with how to do the journaling so that it kind of stops on one side and then picks up on the opposite side. Like you kind of have to go back, but I left a gap in my journaling so that it was clear or I guess I tried to make it clear so that it kind of goes off on the right for a little bit and then picks up over on the left. And now I'm not going to like this. I'm putting this dark tag, this dark floral tag behind this photo, and I'm not going to like it at all. Sorry, I think I do move this over a little bit so that you can see it better in just a few minutes. My workspace is getting more and more crowded as time goes on, and that's why I'm kind of like scooched myself over so that I have room to scrapbook. Now I'm just putting a crap ton of these really cute epoxy stickers all over the top of this photo. I love how it looks. It looks so much fun. All these little emojis, like little heart eyes and winky faces and stuff. But I wanted, ideally, I would have liked to have had 6 of them because there were 6 people in the car, but there were only 5 of them. So I put all 5 on, and then I also added some more stickers from that same set that just had some speech bubbles. And I thought that was a really fun page. It's quite different from all of the other pages in the book, but I don't mind. Now here we are. This is probably one of my very favorite pages in the whole book. So I'm using, this is a bit of a fail. I tried to punch a shape out so that I could have like the exact same shape. It worked a little bit, as you can see. It didn't punch out exactly, but it punched out good enough that I could just trim it out with my scissors. I wanted to add the type, like the rub-ons in the shape of the heart, and the heart was already attached to the page, so I just thought that would be easier than trying to selectively rub off a heart-shaped bunch of words. And so as you can see, these rub-ons really do come off the sheet quite easily once you know the little trick for doing it. And I don't know what it is about this page that I like so much, but I just love the base of this page. It's so simple and so pretty, and I just love the color scheme of the yellow and green with that really cute vintage looking ledger paper. And I'm in love with ledger paper. And so I'm just going to do like a really sketchy, shaky, messy outline around the edges of that heart. And I think I'm going to do a tone-on-tone title here. I want it to say Cheesies. And so I'm using those striped freckled fawn rubber letter stickers again. And I really love how Cheesies look in that yellow. Even though Cheesies are orange, it's kind of like an orangey yellow, especially compared to the yellow background paper. Because it's a more yellowy letter sticker than the yellow on the background paper, it really emphasizes the orangey-ness of the word Cheesies. And so here you see me fattening up my letters and giving them a little bit of a flare at the bottoms, like giving them those bell-bottom looks and the flared sleeves. You'd think I was talking about fashion and not scrapbooking, paper crafting, but yeah. So I basically just going over the lines, thickening them up and adding those little bell-bottom-y flares wherever possible. I like the A's because it gives you lots of opportunities to add the flare. You can thicken up one part of the rounded part of the A and then add flares on the tips. Wherever there's a tip, I add a little flare. And that just adds to the legibility of this and makes it look more like a title or a sentiment as opposed to journaling. And so this one says, with Cheesies and luggage on our laps, we set off for Pictou County. And so the car was really crowded. We have a fairly small minivan, and like it's a minivan. It's kind of like part car, part van. And so when we travel with 6 people, there's 5 people in our family because we have our 2 biological kids, and then we also have an international student. And then we also often will bring Scott's sister because she doesn't own a car. And so when all 6 of us are in the car, the back like the place where you would put your luggage is really, really, really tiny. And so we all had to have our luggage on our back, on our laps, or not all of us, but some of us had to. And so I really like how this picture shows the cheesies and the luggage. And I don't have to say, our car is so small, we have to, like, I don't have to say all those things that I just said to you, because that page says it all. Like, obviously, our car was crowded or we wouldn't have had luggage on our laps. And so I really like my journaling to not, I don't like to, like, bang people over the head with my message. Like, I kind of like it to be kind of subtle and have you kind of deduce some of what I'm trying to say. And I like books that are written like that. And when I do write fiction, like I'm not a writer or anything, but sometimes I just for fun, I'll write like little short stories and stuff. And I like to be more subtle with my writing, and that comes through in my scrapbooking. And it's really only in my art journaling that I really thoroughly will discuss things out in lots of words. Now here I'm doing something weird, and I'm putting numbers randomly everywhere, and I'm going to change my mind about this and take almost all of them off. And here I'm just using these numbers in the same way that I've been using the rub-ons. So they're black and whites, they're adding some contrast, and I'm not really thinking about what the numbers mean the same way that I'm not thinking about what the rub-ons mean. I'm just putting them every here and there as a decoration. But I don't like it, so I'm going to take them off. And like with many things, if you watch my channel, you know that sometimes I'll have an idea and it doesn't seem to be working out, but I will follow it through just to see if I change my mind about it as I go. And that's what happened here. I followed it out for a couple of pages just to see if I would like it, and then I decided I didn't like it. So I went through and took them all off, except for one. One of them ended up staying. I really love that hit of color with that bright orange or red or whatever color it is, that arrow. I really like that. And the butterfly really softens that page. I'm going to add more to that page, but not yet. So on to the next page, I think. Yes. So another doily will go here. I love how these doilies look with these circles and scallop circles. I just think they look quite nice and delicate there. I'm going to use that heart from the die cut set from Chasing Dreams, and here my ATG ran out of adhesive, and so I switched to another scrapbook adhesive tape runner. And now I'm going to outline this so that it has a little bit more contrast and stands out a bit from the things that it's layered upon. And I'm also going to pop dot it. I don't do a whole lot of pop dots in a mini album because these mini albums get pretty chunky and full pretty easily with just all the pages and layers of paper. But every once in a while, I do like to add some extra dimension to a page. Now this is just a scrap of the rub-on from where I punched that shape, the heart shape, and so I don't want to let any of these beautiful rub-on go to waste, so I'm just going to put it along the edge here, and I really like how it looks actually. And I'm just going right over the stitching and right over the doily and everything, just rubbing that rub-on right on top of it all. It looks quite nice like that. I like it. Now there's a little bit extra here that it looks like I'm not going to use that on this page. I'll use it on something else. So now I have to think about my title. And so I thought I would call this one A Place to Crash, because this is basically what our hotel was. It was a place to crash. We don't normally stay at a hotel when we go to visit Scott's parents because they only live an hour and a half away. But I have been having some health problems that make me tired a lot more easily than I normally would be. And so the idea of traveling for an hour and a half and then having a busy day of visiting and then getting back in the car and traveling for another hour and a half was kind of stressing me out and making me not very happy about the idea of going to this thing. And that's not, I mean, I love going to visit family. It's one of my very favorite things. And so we just kind of problem solved and thought about what can we do to make this easier for me. And so staying at a hotel was the thing that made it easier. And it ended up being just a really great idea. And Scott's parents, like, I have the best in-laws on the face of the earth. Like, Scott's parents are awesome. And his mom especially is like amazing, kind of like a mother to me. And she wasn't offended at all. Like, I know that some in-laws would be really offended if you were like staying in town and not choosing to stay with them. But I think they understand that, you know, the kids really love it when there's a pool, and it's just kind of like, it's not that we didn't want to see them. In fact, we invited them over, like they hung out with us at our hotel room on the first evening that we got there. And so it was just kind of nice, and Scott's aunts got to come and visit. And so anyhow, it was just really nice that we didn't have to worry about offending anybody, because we have the kind of relationship with them that they just get us. And if they were offended, they would tell us, or I can't imagine them being offended anyhow. But, you know, it's just really nice to have that kind of relationship. So we did stay at a hotel, so I called that one a place to crash, and I did add my little bell bottoms to the words on that one as well. And I will come back and talk a little bit more about that one. Now I'm on to the next page, which is just another shot of the hotel room. Just 2 snapshots. I really love hotel rooms. They're really fun, and I love all the white bedding, and it's just, it makes for such a beautiful black and white photo, and capturing kind of, our kids are getting older, and now they're, you know, caring about what kind of fashion they're wearing. And Olivia sometimes wears a little bit of makeup, like she's allowed to wear eyeshadow and mascara and lips. Well, she doesn't wear lipstick, but she's allowed to if she wanted to. She's not allowed to wear eyeliner or any kind of face makeup, like foundation or cover up or anything like that. But we don't mind if she wears a subtle amount of eyeshadow. And so it's just kind of like neat to see them walking through the hotel with, you know, like putting on their own products and carrying around their clothes and stuff. Like, they're just kind of like little ladies now. It's just so different than the way that it used to be when they were younger. And so yeah. Anyhow, here I am just adding some more rub-ons here. And I'm going to do my journaling. So the journaling here says, coffee was particularly delish this morning. And that's because I was so tired, right? Sophie kept us up until 4 a.m. asking about whether eggs would be hidden in the morning. Only Liv slept well last night. Oh my goodness. So Pascal couldn't sleep. He was like wandering around the hotel, and we kept texting him saying, "Where are you?" He was just in the hotel, but you know, like, he's 16, and we just wanted to make sure that he wasn't like leaving. He's very trustworthy. I'd be surprised if he left. But anyhow, it was a rough night, but it was also a great night. You know, we had a good sense of humor about it. We weren't too upset or anything. So here, this is an entirely different day. This is actually today. So I went to work for 2 or 3 days, and this is Thursday, my day off, and I'm just going to do all of the final touches. I have a couple more pages to do, so I'm adding a little adventure sticker to that front page and a couple of dimensional adhesive. I'm going to trim down some of the threads at this point because, you know, I've had some time to think about these threads and and see the album when it's done up, and I'm just cutting some of them, not all of them. And as I go through the pages, it's been several days since I've looked at it, so I'm having different ideas than I had when I first made it. Like this whimsical fun page that's so different than the other ones, I thought I would just add a really sketchy outline to the photo. And here's where I left off on these 2 pages, and now I have, I guess, 4 more pages to do. So this one is going to have the picture of the pool, and I'm going to actually put the rub-on before I put all the other layers, which is different than the way I had been doing it up until then, and much, much easier, I have to say. And I really like how that star on the background paper kind of lines up and emphasizes the rub-ons over there. My thumbnail ends up being a very good rub-on application tool. I'm just kind of flipping back because it's been several days since I looked at this, and I just want to make sure that these pages don't look too different, where I'm doing them on a different day and I'm in a different mood. I just want to make sure that I continue the same look on these last couple of pages. I don't want them to look really different. And sometimes when I walk away from a project and then come back and I'm in a different mood, I might scrapbook in an entirely different way. So here I'm thinking about putting something that says pool or water slide or something like that. And I pulled out those sassafras letter stickers that I've already used. But then I thought, I think I'd like to use a word sticker. So I went to my word sticker drawer. I keep all my word stickers in a separate place. And I just pulled out a whole bunch of different word stickers. And these ones are by Pink Paisley. And it says The Sweet Life. And I thought that it is kind of the sweet life, like being able to stay at a hotel and go on the water slide. And it is kind of a bit of a luxury. I'm going to put my journaling way up here. I think I kind of would have liked it better if it was down a little bit more, but I wanted it to be on this background paper. It was easy to write on it and pretty legible. So it says, Liv and Soph will tell you the pool is the best part of any staycation. And I put staycation in quotes because it's kind of like a staycation / vacate. Like we drove a little bit. It wasn't exactly the same as staying in our own city, but it's not really that much of a vacation either, like a go away vacation. So I'm going to layer a couple of more die cuts over here from the same Chasing Dreams collection from Maggie Holmes, putting more black rub-ons on this swan die cut. This swan is conveniently already outlined. It's like it was made for me. I totally would have outlined it if it wasn't already outlined. And so I don't want to cover up the swan's face, but I do want to put a little bit more rub-ons on here. So I just decided to put, these are more little cast-offs from that heart-shaped die cut piece that I used on the green heart a couple pages back. Oh, I like that. It looks really cute. And so this is the way that I often layer together embellishments, is I kind of decide how I want them to sit, and then I glue them to each other instead of gluing them onto the background. And then once it's one big chunk, then I'll glue that chunk onto the background piece. And that just allows me to make sure that all the edges are exactly where I want them and everything is lined up the way I want it to be. So on this die cut, I'm writing, the best part for me is the free breakfast buffet. It's not the finest of dining, but we all get up and eat together and plan our day. And then I put 5 hearts underneath of it because there's 5 of us who stayed in the hotel, 5 of us in our family. And then I'm outlining it. Again, I'm using the same pen throughout so that it kind of has that look of flow and cohesiveness throughout it. And now these stickers, I had pulled these out in my video where I talk about creating this album. I showed myself taking out some items that I plan to use. And so some of these stickers were just already on my desk from that. And I haven't used many stickers yet. I've been using mostly die cuts. And so I'm aware of the fact that I don't really want this to be too different from the other things. But I'm also aware that my last step will probably involve adding some of these stickers to some or all of the pages. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of the stickers right now to these pages just because I want to. And I thought about putting that there. That is too bold for there. It's too different of a color, too orange and not pink enough. That one, ugh, I don't love that either. And what I don't like about that is that it gives me this problem with the center. That's kind of like an awkward little piece of another sticker is showing through that center, and I don't really like it very much. I thought about maybe putting something on the center, but then whatever I put there ends up overwhelming the sticker. And I'm just going to take the sticker right off and just put that butterfly there. That's better. Sometimes less is more. And there's a lot going on in this album, so I'm trying to show a little bit of restraint every here and there at least. Now, some of the pages are sticking together. There must be a little bit of adhesive where maybe I changed my mind. I might have had a sticker on there and then I moved it. And so wherever I feel something sticky, I'm just taking my little powder tool, and that's for... That's for embossing. Like, it's to keep your embossing powder from sticking to the wrong places on your card when you're embossing, like heat embossing, I mean. And so that is an EK Success powder tool, I think it's called. And I just used it everywhere that I felt some stickiness on my pages, where the pages might stick together. I just added a little bit of powder, which is easy to do on a black and white photo, because even if a little bit of grayness ends up showing through from the powder, it's, you know, on a black and white photo, it just shows up as tones of gray, and it's okay. So I need to add some rub-ons to some of these pages that I skipped the first time around. So at this point, I have scrapbooked, I think, all of the pages. No, not all of them. I'm going back a little prematurely and adding some rub-ons. I still have 2 more pages to do, but I just felt like doing this, so I thought I'd add rub-ons, just this alphabet right here to this little space. And this solves 2 problems. One is that there was a little bit of negative space there that needed something, and it also adds a black and white rub-on to that page. I'm also going to outline the heart to make it stand out a little bit from its background. Give it a little bit more contrast as well. And now here come these last 2 pages. So you'll see that I do have a couple of doubles, and that's because I had 2 packages of the Chasing Dreams die cuts. So some of these have already shown up in other places on this album, but that's okay. It's so subtle that, and there's so much going on this little mini album that that it's all right. Nobody's going to notice that you use the same die cut twice. And I really like that peacock sticking out there. I like how it looks like he's kind of looking down at the photo. And that's actually a really hilarious photo. It's a photo of everybody sitting around in the living room, and Pascal is sound asleep and his head is at this like crazy angle, like pointing straight up in the air because he fell asleep and his head lolled back. Or rolled back, or I don't know the word I'm looking for. And it's just really funny because he's like totally oblivious to the fact that there's like a family gathering going on. He can literally sleep anywhere. So I'm adding some rub-ons right here. I think any teenage boy can probably sleep anywhere because they sleep a lot, those teenagers do. So yes, I'm just using the thumb method for applying these rub-ons. There we go. It looks pretty good. I like the layered text on top of other text. That's quite nice. And I want to put just a little bit more rub-on here just to carry it to elsewhere on the page. So just put that little scrap of it right there. I'm going to outline this heart before I layer it above, kind of around the peacock's head right there. It just softens up that little rounded spot where that keyhole shape was. And then I added that green star. That green star is quite jarring. Like it's a very dark green that doesn't show up anywhere else on the project, but I do really like it, so I thought I'd go with it anyway. And now here I'm going to spell out the word Easter, and this is really the only reference to the fact that this was the Easter long weekend. We're not a particularly religious family, and so although some of us do go to church for Easter, my immediate family is not part of that. So I mean, you know, there was chocolate and eggs and stuff, but it's more about a family gathering than it is about necessarily celebrating Easter, especially now that our kids are older and they understand the whole mystery of Easter and the Easter bunny and stuff. So anyhow, it's a lot less about like Easter and the Easter bunny and presents and that sort of thing than it was when our kids were younger. And just because of our family's religious beliefs, it's never really been, I mean, we always talk about what Easter actually is and why it's celebrated. So our kids do know about the story of Easter and that sort of thing. Like the actual Bible story, not like the Easter bunny. But it's not something that is really prominent in our celebrations. So anyhow, that's why it's not really all that much about Easter. It's more about time to spend with friends. And every family is different in that way, right? So yeah. Now here are more of those yummy, delicious rubber letters that I wish I had a million of. And I'm going to spell out yikes because a bunch of trees fell onto different things in my mother and father-in-law's backyard, including their barn. And so the barn is actually not too, I mean, I think it's still, like, it doesn't have to be torn down or anything. It's repairable. But there's a huge tree laying on top of the barn in this picture. And so I just put yikes on it. And I said on this die cut piece, I just journaled, look what the recent windstorm did to Papa's barn. And then an exclamation point. I outlined it. And I'm looking for a roller date stamp, and I'm going to have to check the date. It was April 16th, and make sure that you change your year. It had been a year since I'd used that roller date stamp, so it was still on 2016, so I had to change it to 2017. And there we go. Now I need some rub-ons for this page, and I'm going to cut out, so I'm going to put some right here. And then I'm also going to put some down in the opposite corner. And repetition is a really good way to bring a page together. And I think one of the biggest design challenges with a mini album, especially a mini album that has so much going on, like this album has a lot of embellishing and a lot of pictures and a lot of journaling, like there's kind of a lot going on. I guess your challenge is to not have it appear too chaotic. I like a mismatched, I don't like my mini albums to be too matchy-matchy. But I also don't want them to be too terribly chaotic and crazy looking either. So the things I do to try to keep it look pulled together is I try to use similar elements. So the fact that all the photos are black and white helps it all look pulled together. The fact that there are some of those black rub-ons on almost every page also helps bring it together. And now here I'm at that last phase that I talked about. So now everything is journaled, all the photos are in. And now I'm going back and I'm thinking I'm going to add some word stickers, some gold word stickers to every single page on this, or almost every page in this album. And so these word stickers, I'm so sorry, I don't know who makes them. It's a company I don't buy much stuff from. I got them at Paper Issues, and the name of the company is on the back side of that sticker sheet. But I can't find it. My room is a bit of a disaster right now, and I just can't find it. It could be by Ness. Yeah, it could be by Ness. Anyhow, they're beautiful gold word stickers, and I'm just sticking a couple every here and there. And I think it's going to end up that there's going to be some on every page or almost every page. And this is one more way that I help to tie in the pages and make them look like they all go together and have like similar theming. And I'm trying to obviously pick relevant letter stickers. So the yippee goes next to the cannonball and the water slide, and the yum goes next to the food picture and that sort of thing. And I really wanted this album to have lots of our everyday, like not just, oh, this was a special weekend when we went away, because this is the kind of going away that we do often. Like we'll go down to Pictou County several times each season. And so it's kind of like a mixture of the everyday and a special weekend, because it was a longer weekend and we stayed in a hotel instead of just going down for a day trip. Now that everything is not quite layered nicely enough with the rub-on, so I just moved it up a little bit so you could see a little bit more of the rub-on underneath of it. It just looks a little bit better layered that way, instead of looking like it completely covers up the word journey. Or journal, or I can't remember what that word said, but whatever. Adding more of these, we're going to say Ness, but who knows who makes those word stickers. That also adds some gold to every single page, which is nice. There's the gold twine on the front of the page, or on the front of the title page. And so it brings some gold into the inside of the album. I'm putting bye-bye on the bottom corner of the back page. And then I'm just going to put this sentiment sticker that says my heart is full. And I'm going to put it a little bit off center and down on the bottom like that. And it's not sticking very well to the paper, so I'm just going to take some Tombow Mono multi-adhesive and stick it down in 3 different places. And that glue is super strong, so you don't have to be super thorough and make sure that every little bit has some glue on it. Just if it's tacked down in enough places, it will work. So here's the album, and I am going to go through it a couple more times before it is absolutely complete. So I'm starting by adding 3 ribbons to each of the rings. These binder rings, what I find is that the fattest part of the binder ring, which is the part that has the hinge on it, not the part that opens, but the part that holds it all together, that part of it fits through the holes on the acrylic pages, but it doesn't fit very well through the holes on the acetate pages. And so I don't want those rings to get flipped around because they interfere with the turning of the pages. I want the thickest parts of those rings to be on the outside of the album. So here I am just flipping through and showing you how it looks right now. It's actually still not entirely finished. This final phase of finishing off the details, like adding the ribbon to the binder rings and adding the last little bits of embellishments, it usually takes a couple of flip throughs before I get to the point where it feels like it's finished. And right now it doesn't have some of those little tiny details that I like to add. So I'm going to go back and add some of those details, and mostly it's going to be in the form. At first I thought I'd add random puffy stickers every here and there, and I am going to add a few puffy stickers every here and there, but I'm also going to find a sheet of gold puffy hearts. You can see them sticking out underneath of there they are right there. They're from Freckled Fawn. And I am going to put those on almost every page. And that is going to be the final touch that's going to really make this project feel very finished. I put a couple of other little puffy stickers every here and there where there seemed to be little gaps or little places where something interesting was needed. But I'm mostly going to scatter these gold puffy hearts, and I'm going to use almost the entire sheet of them on this project. And I'm going to be placing them according to, I'm not always going to place them in a triangle, but many times it will be a triangle. So you see there, that was a triangle. And on this page, only one on each page. And some of these pages are see-through, and you're going to be able to see the gold hearts through some of the pages. And that's going to add to, so see how there's 3 on that, but only one of them is on that actual page, the circle page there. 2 of them are just showing through from the other page, and I really like how that looks. It looks like there's 3, but there's actually only 1. But you still get that visual triangle from it. I really love that, actually. And now here I'm going to move that white heart and move it someplace entirely different. And put another 3 hearts on this one. And I find that what putting especially sets of 3 does is it kind of like pulls together a page and makes it look contained or finished. And plus, they're gold puffy hearts, and they're just awesome. So it's always nice to add something awesome to a page anyways, even if there's no reason to put it there. Oh, no, that ampersand was just a little bit too much. I like that target behind that photo because Papa has like a crossbow and guns and stuff. And so I thought that the target was appropriate there. He's a hunter. So now I'm just going back and adding some of these rub-ons in places where I neglected to put them. So I already had the one rub-on that says found right above the arrow, but I just felt like this page needed more. This page stood out. So what I'm doing right now is I'm flipping through and I'm trying to identify any pages that stand out as looking different from the others and figuring out how to make them blend in better with the other pages. And so that was one that I just felt like if I added some more rub-ons, it would help it look like it fits in. And now this is one of my favorite additions. This is one of my last additions, and I'm so happy that I did it. I love how this text looks behind the cat on that busy paper. Oh, I love this look. This, to me, seems like something someone else would do, and that might be why I like it so much. It's different for me. I don't usually think of these sorts of things, so I was kind of proud of myself for doing something that was a little bit different for myself. I don't know if you guys can recognize this as being different from my style, but it was sort of like, when I thought of it, I was kind of like, yeah, someone else would do that. So I felt like I'd like to do that. Funny. Anyhow, I think I'm done now. Yeah, I'm going to add a couple of hearts to the front page just to, you know, make it look like the inside pages. And now I just slowed it down to regular speed, and I'm going to walk you through this. If you would like to see this album in even more detail, I am going to have a share video in which I'm going to talk a little bit about how I made it. I'm not going to talk right now about how I made it because you just saw me make it. So here I'm just going to flip through quite slowly so that you can see how everything looks when it's finished. And I did put some puffy stickers on this page that I kind of I didn't point that out as I did it. So you'll see some extra little details here that I added quickly at the end to just kind of finish off each of the pages. I love that peekaboo page with the cats on it. And I really love the back side of it with the book. I really love how that looks with the other page showing through. And I've never made an acrylic album before. I've never made one that was see-through like this, and I really, really love it. I am so happy. I snatched up 3 of this album, of this exact same album. I bought 3 of them at Crop and Create. So I'm so excited to be able to make 2 more of these if I so desire. I can't get over how much fun it was and how happy I am with the final product. Actually, I'm much, much more happy with this mini album than I am with some of my like full-size albums that are filled with 12 by 12 pages. It seems like it's such a fun project, and it could be just that I haven't done a mini album in a really long time, but I am just in love with this project. So here are some of the close-up photos. I only put the overall photos in this video because I think there were like 38 pictures of this project, because I took individual pictures of the pages and then I also took some close-ups and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in seeing all of the pages up close, the link to my Flickr account is in the description box for this video, and that will take you to the album that has all 38 pictures of this project, and so that you can see it up close if you'd like to. Thanks so much for watching and for sticking in with me for this hour and 8 minutes. I can't believe I just talked for an hour and 8 minutes about a project. If you're here to the end, woohoo for you! I'm impressed. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.